Well, because I deal with partners for over the last 30 years who've been betrayed either by infidelity, sexual addiction, or intimacy anorexia. And we see them, and sometimes they stay crippled for a long time and damaged. And I'm like, there's something going on. And so we finally did some real significant research. I mean, these ladies fill out 2 hours of surveys before and after the trauma, and they taught us so much about what happens to them physically. The bodies actually experience trauma and emotionally and in their relationships. And it's just riveting. Okay. Now you said ladies, but let's be fair to the men. It's not always men. If a man is unfaithful, he had to have a woman. Well, not these days, I guess most of the time, he had to have a woman to be unfaithful with. So this video you're about to see was actually made 5 years ago. It features Doug Weiss along with Marcus and Joni Lamb. They were doing a show to launch a book called Partner Betrayal Trauma. At first glance, it looked like your typical program. It aired like normal, and Doug even posted about it on his own pages. Now, Doug said the book was meant to help couples deal with betrayal and relationship problems. But here's the thing. It seems like his real reason for doing all of this was to get closer. Before I dive into all the details, I want you to watch the interview for yourself. Pay close attention. You'll start to see what I mean. You can have a peaceful pond, but when you throw that pebble in there, then there's ripples, multiple. They just seem to go on and on and on. So you didn't do this in a vacuum. You're not only affecting your spouse, but your children, your grandchildren, other family and friends, people involved in your church, etc. So I want you to listen today, because this is something that's going to help you, as I said earlier, either to heal from a betrayal, either you suffered or you caused, or to prevent you from ever finding yourself in that situation. Sir, why did you write this book? Well, because I have dealt with partners for over the last 30 years who've been betrayed either by infidelity, sexual addiction, or intimacy anorexia. And we see them, and sometimes they stay crippled for a long time and damaged. And I'm like, there's something going on. And so we finally did some real significant research. I mean, these ladies fill out 2 hours of surveys before and after the trauma, and they taught us so much about what happens to them physically. The bodies actually experience trauma and emotionally and in their relationships, and it's just riveting. Okay, now you said ladies, but let's be fair to the men. It can happen. It's not always men. If a man is unfaithful, he had to have a woman. Well, not these days, I guess. Most of the time, he had to have a woman to be unfaithful. At this point, you're probably wondering, why are they even laughing? Because seriously, there's nothing funny here, unless maybe Marcus is thinking about something from his past cheating, like that affair hardly anyone talks about. Could that be it? Stick around, because the pieces start to come together. I want to share something with you, and it is this. Several years ago, Marcus and I went through a challenge in our marriage, and I discovered that he was having an emotional relationship, if you will, with someone, and that it had turned into an improper relationship. I'm guessing a lot of you have either seen this video or at least heard people talking about it. So here's the real deal. Marcus Lamb actually admitted to it. Yeah, for real. A bunch of news sources reported it, and he even went on international television to confess himself. I take 100% responsibility. Joni has no blame. The other person doesn't have any blame. I don't even blame the devil. It's all on me. I'm so sorry. I've asked God to forgive me years ago. I asked my precious Joni, and when we first came out, I said to her, honey, I only want us to stay together if we really love one another, not for the ministry's sake, not even for our kids' sake. Ladies and gentlemen, I love this woman, but usually it is the man probably more than the woman. Well, this book is aimed towards the women. There might be another book for the men, but this is for the women. Women tend to try to stay in the relationship. They try to work it out, but they're wounded as they're trying to work it out. And what's really incredibly courageous, incredibly powerful is, here is the man who said they would never hurt you. They destroy your life. This right here is exactly what's playing out today. Honestly, it seems like Doug saw this coming a long time ago. Maybe he was already thinking about an escape plan, especially since Lisa wasn't about to stay quiet or back down. Doug Weiss always says it's the man who messed things up in relationships, and that women are the ones trying to fix everything. But let's be real. He might just be talking about himself. Sounds like he's been a pretty toxic husband to Lisa. And have you noticed Lisa's not with him now? She hasn't really said much to the media either. That kind of silences a lot. It feels like Doug's been using this whole situation to his advantage since day one. When your heart's not in something, things are bound to fall apart. But even with everything going on, he's still out here saying women are the ones who bring peace. That's a bold claim, especially coming from someone whose own marriage is falling apart. And yet, like a superhero, they open up the heart and they come back to that very same man. And they try to love him and they try to walk through it, even with the scrap metal inside of them. And as they walk through that relationship, these women are my rock stars. I mean, I love them all over the world. They fly from all over the world. We're doing a conference for them next month. And we see these women stand up and save their families where the man has done all he could do to destroy it. And they heal. And that's just beautiful to watch. It's honestly hard to watch someone just sit there while their partner is hurting, especially when they're the reason for the pain. That's what's so unsettling about Doug Weiss in this video. He lays everything out like a story in his past, but then acts like it should apply to everyone's relationship. That's the weird part. He even says the book he's talking about is mainly for women. Yeah, he actually says that early on in the video. It's like he's trying to turn his personal issues into some kind of rule for everyone else. The important thing is, like you said, for men and women that are trying to keep their marriage together, maybe they've had trauma, like you said, the man or the woman or both. I mean, I've heard all of those different areas. The thing is, there is hope and healing and there is restoration. And I guess that's your end game in all of this, in sharing. But how important is it for either the spouse or the husband or the wife to understand what betrayal really does? How important is that? Well, I think it's huge because since this book has come out in the video, men's lights come on. They're like, oh my gosh, this is what I've done to her. Yeah, that's what you've done to her. And they're like, wow. And for women, they've never had a resource where they could hand to their mom or their sister or their friend and say, read this and you'll get why I am different. You'll get why I am depressed. You'll get why I have nightmares and why I'm still thinking about the day he told me and I was on the floor for an hour and a half crying and I still see that in my mind. You'll understand that I'm normal, that I'm not being a drama queen, right? And so the reason in sharing this then is, I'm sure, not to bring condemnation or guilt, but just understanding so that you can walk through that process together. Yeah. It's like, yeah, honey, you have been hit by a car. Here, let me show you. Read this. And they can go, oh my gosh, that's why my hormones are whacked out. That's why I can't get out of bed. That's why, yes. Now let's make a plan for those things. Don't stay there. Before I say this, just take a look at this. Or I was the first one there when they opened the casket before anything was even there, and I find that ironic, because I love Marcus. Sure. I love him as a man and what he's built, who he is, his kids, his family. I've loved him for years. So what's really going on here? That's the big question. Did Joni and Doug cross a line before Marcus passed away? Was Doug even telling the full truth about his own marriage? There are a lot of things that just don't add up. And honestly, the more you look into it, the more questions pop up. By now, most of us know that Doug Weiss wasn't just some distant friend. He was really close to Joni, and not just her, but the entire Lamb family. This wasn't some random friendship. It was deep, too deep for comfort, according to some people. And there are even rumors floating around that Doug and Joni may have had something going on before Marcus Lamb died. Yeah, that's what a lot of folks are starting to believe. And then there's what happened after Marcus passed. Doug showed up at the funeral, which, okay, that's expected if they were close. But what caught people off guard was how involved he was. Like, he was seriously trying to confirm Marcus's body was really the one being buried. He actually went around the family's wishes to check it for himself. That's not normal behavior for someone who's just a friend. Now, sure, maybe he was just trying to be supportive, but let's be real. That kind of involvement has people asking if something deep was going on. some are even saying that maybe Marcus's death needs another look, like a full-on forensic investigation. That's how serious it's getting. And then there's the physical changes. If you look back at that video from 5 years ago, Joni looked healthy, full of life. Doug, on the other hand, looked thinner, like he was going through something. But now the roles are flipped. Joni is noticeably slimmer, and Doug looks like he's doing just fine, like he's won somehow. That makes you stop and think, right? We also can't ignore what's happening with Daystar. The network is losing support fast. And Joni's table talk show, yeah, it's barely hanging on. Most of the audience has stopped watching, and the vibe has completely changed. So maybe it's time we rethink everything. Maybe, just maybe, Joni isn't the villain in this story. Could she be a victim too? I don't know for sure, but it's really starting to feel that way. Thanks for hanging in there with me. There's more to uncover, and you can bet I'll keep you updated as this story unfolds. Stay tuned, because this is far from over.